Mattia Polito leads off then the start of this 45-minute final. Leads from Elliot Marson down into the corner. That has no banner there now. Through the middle of the circuit, Mattia Polito already stretching it away into the lead. Across the flyover for the first time. Coming up the steps. Already a pretty decent, sizable gap for Mattia Polito. As they come down the hill. Mattia Polito leading by 1.2 seconds from Giuseppe Teschioni at the close of the first lap. Elliot Marson relegated to third. Here, plenty of cheering going on around the track. There's a bunch of Italians in this race. There's 13 cars out there, 8 Italians out there. All of the locals cheering on their home favourites. The leader of which is Mattia Del Ballo Polita. He is leading with the one car as he's coming up the steps across the start-finish line. Top three have already made a bit of a break. Nico Flamini's made a fast start from the 7th spot up to 4th. Maxime Noble's made a great start from 10th up to 6th. We're watching Mattia Polito, though, lead away. He's got a gap of 1.6 seconds at the moment, so we'll continue to run with him. Let the race settle down. 45-minute final, remember, so we're going to have stops coming up. We're going to have plenty of fuel stops coming up. I'm expecting probably 4 stops or 5 stops. 5 stops, I think. I think 4 stops wouldn't quite be enough. You're going to do about, let's say, 8 minutes, 16 minutes. No, you'd only get to 32 minutes. Yeah, it's going to be a 5-stop race, I would imagine, for everybody. So order may well get a little bit chaotic. We're watching Mattia Polito, though, as he comes down across the start-finish line. Got a gap of 1.4 seconds over Elliot Marson. Elliot Marson just set the fastest lap of the race that time round so far at 36.2 against a 36.3 for Mattia Polito. So Elliot Marson trying to chase down Mattia Polito. So we're running 1 from 2 from 3. All static in the podium positions so far. Elliot Marson visibly closer to Mattia Polito. Polito, the white-fronted yellow rear car, blue centre section with the white wheels on his car. Elliot Marson, similar coloured body shell, but he's got yellow wheels on his car. Just flying through the hot race turn, and Marson's made a mistake out the back of shot through hot race. Just flipped the car over, he's landed back on his wheels, but that's going to slow him down. Elliot Marson had done the fastest lap of the race so far at 35.882 the last lap round. He got the lead down to 1.1 seconds. It's going to have gone up. I bet Mattia Polito breathed a bit of a sigh of relief there. The gap now 2.6 seconds, so about 1.5 seconds that mistake cost Elliot Marson. Those two still going away. They're some 5 seconds in front of the third place car of Giuseppe Teschioni. Still running with the lead car. He's come over the crossover. Keep an eye on where the second place car is. Mattia Polito actually has just done a 35.8. 36.0 for Elliot Marson, the gap up to 2.8 seconds. So Mattia Polito starting to stretch away. The lead two pulled a decent gap already over third place Giuseppe Teschioni.
Did you see what happened to Alexander Schmidt's car?
I didn't know, sorry. I was keeping an eye on what's going on at the front. What happened?
I don't know. It was a question, not a trick question. It was just... he's come down off the rostrum. His car's definitely dead, and he was very unhappy with another person down in the pits. So I just wondered what you'd seen.
No, didn't catch that one, sorry. I don't know if that's another mechanic that he's unhappy with, or if that is his own mechanic that he's remonstrating with. We are watching Mattia Polito. He is not very far in front of Elliot Marson. He's obviously made a mistake somewhere on this lap, because we're watching the one car at the moment coming up the steps. Right under his rear wing is the 2 car of Elliot Marson to come down the hill. This is the battle for the overall win. Mattia Polito leading from Elliot Marson. 2 of them stood next to each other on the rostrum. You can see 2 heads moving in unison. Polito leads from Marson. Coming over the flyover. Mistake there from Marson. Dropped him back a little bit. 36.3 from Polito. 37.8 from Garçon. Teschioni now 4.8 seconds behind them. Elliot Marson then trying to close down. We're 6 minutes into the race already. Another 30, just under 39 minutes remaining. Expecting the pit window to open. This will be the pit. There is no pit window, but cars will start pitting. Still running with the leader, Mattia Polito. Leader pits. Second place follows him in. So a bit of a scrappy entrance to the pits for both cars. They're sent on their way again. The second place car of Elliot Marson has a bit of a quicker stop. He's still in second place, but the gap's going to have come down, I think, from that 1.8 seconds it was as they crossed the line last time. Let's have a look. We're still running with Mattia Polito. We're going to see possibly a change of lead on the computer in a moment. It's not actually happened. But I think the 3 car will lead through Giuseppe Teschioni. Yeah, he does. That's because he hasn't stopped yet. He's just stopping now. So that was, although he led on the computer, he wasn't actually the leader. We're following the leader. Still Mattia Polito. Elliot Marson running in second place. Breaking down into the centre section of the circuit. Elliot Marson trying to close down Mattia Polito. Gets some air over the crossover. That wide line, these 2 stretching away from the rest of the field. They're coming up the steps. Polito moves back to the top on the computer. Marson moves in, shows up in second place, 1.5 seconds back. It looked like he'd taken a chunk of time out of him in the pits. It was only 0.3 of a second. Running down into the centre of the track with Mattia Polito again. Elliot Marson trying to close in. They're trading 0.1 of a second every lap. Nothing to choose between these 2. Oh, no. Polito's nosed it into the barrier, so we've got a change of lead. Polito just nosed it into the barrier after the timing loop. Just hooked the barrier, the rear of the car came round. He ended up stuck there, needing a marshal to retrieve him. So Elliot Marson now leads. So we're watching Elliot Marson, the 2 car out there, the yellow and blue car with the yellow wheels on it. He's coming over the flyover now. So we've had a change of lead with Elliot Marson now taking the lead. As he comes up the steps, Mattia Del Polito will be furious with himself for that mistake. It was an innocuous mistake. It's not a fast corner. Just a little hook against the barrier, a little tap against the barrier. Seemed really innocuous, and just hooked the car up and spun it round. If that's the mistake that decides the championship, that's going to be really, really harsh on Mattia Polito. But fantastic drive from Elliot Marson to get himself into contention as well. These 2 certainly today look the class of the field. Not quite as quick as some cars in qualifying yesterday. They were, I think, 2nd and 4th overall in qualifying. But looking really, really quick in their semi-final that ran earlier. Still watching Elliot Marson, the lead car, the 2 car, coming over the flyover. He's being hunted down after a mistake from Mattia Polito. Let's have a look last time round. Mattia Polito was about 2/10 faster last time round. It's a 35.7, a 35.8. So Marson takes a tenth, or puts a tenth of a second into Polito. 1.9 seconds. These two are they're about 7 seconds clear of Giuseppe Teschioni in third, who's having a really lonely run. He's watching 2 cars pulling away from him. He's watching another 10 cars fall away behind him. 9 cars. Alexander Schmidt's a retirement from the race. So Elliot Marson, we're watching the lead car. 1.9 seconds in front of Mattia Polito. Past race control underneath the driver's rostrum. Across the back of the circuit. Past the hot race turn. Through the hot race turn. They're going to start lapping traffic shortly. Just looking, we're 11 and a bit minutes in. I'm wondering if their mechanics are going to think to pit them before they start hitting the traffic. Massive whip there from Elliot Marson as he lands the car. Just awesome car control. You don't know if you noticed, but a quick flick of the steering to level the car out in midair. So he gathers up that mistake. He's got his lead up to 3.2 seconds. A 34.9. I think is that the first 35 sub 35 we've seen all weekend?
I believe so, yeah.
It is, yeah. I think we've seen quick 35s, but Elliot Marson last time round, 34.9. That was also with that flamboyant whip over the that he managed over the flyover in the centre of the track. Elliot Marson then in the 2 car that we're watching. He's just about to start catching some traffic. We're just over 12 minutes in. Will his mechanics pit him? No, they don't. One of the cars crashes out of his way. That was the 10 car of Maxime Noble. That was a mistake from the leader there that we just saw barrel roll off at the end. It hasn't. It's just let Mattia Polito close back in. So he had the lead at just over 3 seconds following that awesome 34.940 lap. Is that him on his roof again? I think that is. Was that him on his roof? Yeah, we've had a change of lead, so we've now got Mattia Polito back in front. So Elliot Marson, awful lap from him. He's been on his roof twice in the space of 1 lap. So Mattia Polito now leads again, and just going to keep an eye out. They cross the line again. We are 12 and a half minutes, nearly 13 minutes into the race. We've got just over 32 minutes left. So we're going to see cars filtering in for their second stops pretty shortly. 0.7 of a second between the 2 cars that time round. It's more than that this time. Oh, Polito, Marson's had a cut. Marson's had a cut out there. So we've got a huge lead now for Mattia Polito. He comes into the pits, and Marson is he's sent on his way again. But didn't see that cut go on, but I think Marson's been sent on his way. Giuseppe Teschioni up into second place from Castoldi, the winner of the last chance qualifier. He is up into third. He's 16 seconds off of the leader. We're all going through the second stops now. So second to what we believe are going to be 5 stops over the course of the race. I think that's what's going to be necessary. We want to be following the 1 car of Mattia Polito. We are following the 1 car. And the 3 car's not that far behind him, but I don't think the 3 car stopped. There's 1.1 seconds behind them, but I think that's a false gap because I don't believe the 3 car has stopped. So I think the 3 car is 1.1 seconds plus a stop back. So looking fairly comfortable for Mattia Polito now after that issue that we had for Elliot Marson, who is, I mean, he set the fastest lap of the race. He is still running. He's showing a lap down now in 12th place. The only person he's in front of is Alexander Schmidt. So running with the 1 car, that solved a lot of problems for Mattia Polito. Really unlucky for Elliot Marson. So we see Mattia Polito down the short chute. Over some of the little mini jumps in the middle of the circuit. over the flyover. Starting to catch up to some traffic again. She's coming up the steps. It's the 11 car that he's catching of Dario Gabrielli. So Dario will get the call any moment, I would think, from the referee to get out of his way. Let's watch Mattia as he comes through the hot race turn. Comes down, braking into the hairpin that there's now no banner in. Into the centre section of the circuit. 15 minutes into this final, 1/3 of the way through. Elliot Marson still running in last place. He's lapping very quickly. He's done a 35.9 last time out, so Elliot Marson's really got the hammer down. I don't think he's going to have enough, though, to get anywhere near back to the front. Mattia Polito leading this one. We're running with him. The gap's fairly evenly spaced out through the field. There isn't a close battle going on to bring you at any point, really. Mattia Polito we're running with, who had a good battle going on. In fact, the leader's just spun. So just noticed that Mattia Polito just had a little spin, nosed it into the barrier and spun
I didn't realise he was 10 seconds in front. So.
He was 10 seconds in front, yeah. He's got a big gap.
Just slightly.
Yeah. It's there aren't really any particularly close battles going on at any point in the field. There's time to go. We have 28 minutes to go. If my voice continues to hold, I'm sure it will. Heading round. There we go, that's better with a drink. Mattia Polito still leading this one. Still running up through the traffic. He's coming round up the steps. Mattia Polito is blue and yellow car with the white wheels. Heading across the back of the circuit through the hot race turn. Notice he hasn't closed in particularly on the 11 car of Dario Gabrielli. Oh, he has now. He's taking a huge chunk out of him. There we go. Gabrielli pulls out of the way. So he's over the flyover. Gap down to 7.8 seconds. Giuseppe Teschioni kind of picking up the pace a little bit. It only took 2/10 out of him that time around, although it's 35.6. So Mattia Polito's fastest lap of the race. Just throwing that in for good measure. 36.5, so he's taken the best part of a second out of Giuseppe Teschioni in one lap. Still running with Mattia Polito. There really aren't any close battles going on down the field that we can bring you. Everybody at least a couple of seconds apart. So we're sticking with our leader, Mattia Polito. 8.7 seconds in the lead. Just watching whereabouts he is on the circuit, who he's closing in on. It's obviously traffic that he's running towards. Heading round. Seeing it's the 12 car that he's catching. The 12 car, which is, where's the 12 car? Joachim Callan. So that is the 8th place car he's about to put a lap into. Still heading round the middle of the circuit. Gap up to 10.2 seconds now. So 35.6. So Mattia Polito doing some really fast laps, pumping in some mega consistent laps. Not quite as quick. The quickest lap we've seen is actually Patrick Avignon Jr. in 3rd place. He's done a 34.671 last time round. So that's an awesome lap from Patrick with the 6 car. But Mattia Polito leading. Patrick Avignon Jr. with the fastest lap of the race so far, but he's 25 seconds back. Not really going to help him. Might have been the fastest lap, but it's was... it took about a second out of Mattia Polito. But we're at the 20-minute mark now, so this is we're getting to the point of being the longest that any of these cars have run all weekend. Breakages are the other thing to be concerned with. Breakages and flameouts. Mattia Polito still leading this one by 9.4 seconds. Just seen off screen, Elliot Marson's had another cut, being run back to the pits. Mattia Polito running round. He's trying to close into the back of that traffic. See who it is that he's catching. It's one of the cars with the black wheels. I think that might be the... Let's have a look. The 11 car, I think. The 11 car comes to a stop. That's Dario Gabrielli. He's got out of the way of Mattia Polito. Mattia Polito continues around 21 minutes in. So I think we're probably going to be looking at a third stop somewhere around this point. What we think, a third of 5. So somewhere around this point, I would expect him. There's a huge pile of cars that he's coming up on. So Mattia Polito still leading. Carries on for another lap. His lap, it was showing us in fact, Mattia Polito must have pitted because he was showing us in 2 seconds in front of Giuseppe Teschioni, and he's now showing as 9 seconds in front. So Teschioni is obviously pitted as well. So we're running with Mattia Polito, the number 1 car, our pole position man. He hasn't quite led from start to finish. He had a challenge early on from Elliot Marson. Elliot had a few issues and has flamed out. I think he's running again, but he's now down the back of the pack. Mattia Polito doing everything he needs to. Got a 9-second lead over Giuseppe Teschioni. Coming up to the midpoint of this race, 22.5 minutes. There we go. We're halfway through the race with half of it still to run. Woo. There's no particularly close battles going on, I don't think, further down the field. Mattia Polito still leading. Cars are relatively spread out. Mattia Polito leads Giuseppe Teschioni, leads Patrick Ovigne Jr. Mattia Polito pulling away. He's got a 16-second lead now. And 28 seconds in his pocket over Patrick Ovigne Jr. Looking very, very good for Mattia Polito if he has no mechanical issues. With that kind of lead, even a mistake you'd probably get away with, I think. Running across the back of the circuit now, through the hot race turn. Down to the hairpin that now has no name. Into the centre section of the circuit, closing on the traffic. Let's see who the traffic is that he's closing on. I think one of them may be Elliot Marson, which will be a real kick in the teeth for Elliot, having been right up there with Mattia earlier. The first one is the 4 car of Marco Orlando, so he's about to lap the 5th place car. Such is Mattia Polito's lead. He's about to lap the car in 5th place as we come up to 25 minutes into the race, which means there'll be 20 minutes to go. So we're over half distance. Still watching the number 1 car of Mattia Polito from Giuseppe Teschioni. The lead, there's no battles going on further down the field, particularly. Nothing going on down there. Mattia Polito still leading. We've got hugely spaced gaps everywhere. Marco Orlando's pulled out the way, so it's only the top 4. At this current rate, I think Mattia Polito could lap the rest of the field if he doesn't have any issues. He'll certainly get Nico Flamini and Patrick Avigne Jr. by the end. It's whether he can get Giuseppe Teschioni as well. Elliot Marsan lapping quickly. He's the fastest car on the track. Doesn't matter, he's in 12th and he's not 2 laps down yet, but he's heading that way. Getting really, really dusty here. This is the longest that we've had a race run all weekend. The dust just hanging over the circuit. Absolutely no breeze. You're joining us here on RC Racing TV. We are in the middle of the main final for the EFRA 1/8 Euro B Championships. We're at the Barco circuit in northern Italy, about 20 kilometres outside of Parma. Watching Mattia Polito leading this final round. Done a fantastic job since the start. He's past Nico Flamini now. He's past the 4th place car. He's going to hunt down the 3rd place car next to Patrick Avignon Jr. So running with the 1 car. Hasn't quite led from start to finish. He had a bit of a battle with Elliot Marsan for the first few minutes. Elliot then had a flame out and headed to the pits. He's been back on track and circulating quickly since then, but he's not circulating quick enough to make the difference. So running round with Mattia Polito now as we go into 18 minutes to go. Just heard him, he's on his roof. Leader's on his roof. His lead's that big, it doesn't matter. But leader was on his roof under race control. So we'll watch him come around again through the hot race turn as I thought he just lost power then. I thought he'd lost drive. He is. Is he slowing? Is the lead car slowing? Let's see. Has he got full drive or has he got a problem? This will be cruel luck for Mattia Polito. Let's just check this. If he's got a problem, it looks like he's not accelerating off the turns. Has Mattia Polito got some kind of an issue? The car doesn't look like it's got the drive that...
Is he just saving fuel? Yeah, he's in.
He's in. Okay, he missed the pit lane that time round. That's why. Okay, so the reason he was driving slowly, he tried to get into the pits. He missed the pit entry. So he had a slow lap off the throttle. His lead was big enough. I thought it looked like he wasn't running at full speed. He did the sensible thing. He missed the pit entry. He drove a lap at reduced throttle. He had it was a 20-plus second lead. It's shown as 15 at the moment, but that's because Giuseppe Teschioni hasn't stopped for the fourth time, yes.
It's been a long day.
It's been a long, yeah, I've lost count. I've lost the ability to count. I'm going to lose the ability to speak. I'm sure of it. Mattia Polito still leading, though. Across the back section of the circuit, full power now restored. Heads down the short chute. He's behind the 4 car, I think that is, Marco Orlando, the white-coloured car that he's closing in on. It is the 4 car. So this is the 4th place car that he's about to put a lap back into. Marco Orlando gets right out of the way, right off the throttle. Got to be a bit demoralising for Marco Orlando, running in 4th place himself, being lapped by the leader. We are heading towards 2/3 distance. We're 28 minutes into this final so far. The lead gap between Mattia Polito after that slow lap earlier and Giuseppe Teschioni, 8.6 seconds. Mattia Polito leads up the steps. There are no real battles to speak of going further down the field. Running still across the rear of the circuit with Mattia Polito. Running into the middle of the circuit now. Mattia Polito putting in a devastating display of consistency. Keeping his head there on the rostrum, even when he missed the pit entry and had a bit of an issue. He knew he couldn't drive against the flow of traffic to get back in there. He knew exactly what to do. He just did a slow lap, brought it round, and then dived into the pits on the next lap. So we thought we witnessed him losing power. It wasn't. It was him thinking sensibly, thinking he had to conserve fuel, so not driving flat out. Mattia Polito's lead back up to 17 seconds as Giuseppe Teschioni's now pitted. We've got a breeze blowing across the circuit now. Really refreshing. We're past the 30-minute mark. We're 2/3 of the way through the race. We have 15 minutes of this final to go. We're riding with the number 1 car of Mattia Polito. Running on his own in the centre of the circuit. He's 17 seconds in the lead. 19 seconds in the lead now from Giuseppe Teschioni. 31 seconds down the road from Patrick Avigné Jr. So amazing display of consistency here from Mattia Polito. Dropping down the hill through past race control. That's the 8 car of Gianmarco Franzolini. He's going to put a second lap into. Elliot Marson has recovered up to 8th place from his earlier 12th position that he was in. Alexander Schmidt was an early retirement. But Elliot Marson making a really spirited recovery. He's lapping quicker than just about anybody else out on the circuit. It's academic. He's over a lap down. Over 20 seconds now the lead for Mattia Polito, who we are running with the white, blue, yellow coloured Kyosho machine. Looks like it's Nova Rossi powered, judging by the colour of the engine head. What? Sorry, James has just got his head in his hands in the background. Have you?
Jesus.
What?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I'll tell you after.
Okay. Mattia Polito heading up the steps. The 6 car gets out of his way. That's the 6 car of Patrick Avigné Jr. So that was the 3rd place man. So he's there merrily driving around thinking he's having an awesome run. He's running in a podium position in the final. Then he gets the call from the ref that you're about to be lapped by the leader. That's a sobering thought. The only issue that we've got now is that now that they've been lapped, we can't see the distance between these other cars. So if there is a close battle going on down the field, we're not going to be able to spot who it is. That doesn't matter though. We're running with Mattia Polito, the number 1 car. Not quite led from start to finish. He's had a bit of a battle with Elliot Marson to start with. Looking really comfortable though as he comes out of the hot race turn. Down this short straight in the middle of the circuit. Over the first of the little jumps through the circuit. Over the crossover. 11 minutes to go.
Wow.
I think we're going to end up with, 12 minutes to go. Just under 12 minutes to go.
Elliot Macron decided to take the rock crawler course into the pit lane there.
So Elliot Marson pitting. In fact, Elliot Marson's got himself back up to 6th.
Did I say Macron?
Yes.
Sorry, Marcon.
Marson.
Crikey, and the same route out.
Elliot Marson has the hammer down. We're still running with the 1 car though. We've had him in view pretty much from start to finish. Not always the car we've been focusing on because Elliot Marson took his turn in the lead at the start. Coming down round up the steps now for Mattia Polito. 11 minutes remaining. They're going to be in for their penultimate fuel stops at any point, I think. Still going out there. Over the rear of the circuit through the hot race turn. Breaking down into the corner that now has no name. A little bit wide on the exit. It really doesn't matter. He's got a 12-second lead over Giuseppe Teschioni. Mattia Polito still leads this one pretty comfortably from the 3 car. So the 1 car of Mattia Polito down the hill. Everything going pretty well for Mattia so far. The only danger at this point really is we come up to the 10-minute remaining mark, so we're nearly 35 minutes in. This is by far the longest we've run all weekend. If there are any mechanical gremlins in your car, this is when they're going to surface. Polito made his way past some traffic, I think. He has, what traffic was that? In fact, it's the 6th car, so it's the 3rd place car he's running in front of. 16 seconds the lead for Mattia Polito from Giuseppe Teschioni. I think we're going to, I don't know if Mattia Polito has lapped everybody up into 3rd position. I don't think he's going to lap the 2nd place car of Giuseppe Teschioni, unless Teschioni has some kind of an issue. But we're yeah, it's 17 seconds, so I don't think we're going to do that. But let's pick up the 1 car coming up the steps. Car immediately behind him is the 8th car of Gianmarco Franzolini. Patrick Avigné Jr. has got himself back in front of Polito. So running with Mattia Polito still. 12.5 seconds in the lead now. I think that's because he stopped and Teschioni hasn't. Down the hill. 8 minutes left. We're getting to the point where they're going to be making their final fuel stops, I think. I think with about 7.5 minutes out, they'll start making their final fuel stops. That'll make sure that you've got enough to get you to the end. I don't think there's enough fuel mileage in this track to try pushing it down to a 4-stop. Pretty sure that everybody's going to go for the 5. So the 1 car of Mattia Polito past the right driver's rostrum, across the rear of the circuit, through the hot race turn. Braking, firing down into the middle of the circuit. His lead 20.1 seconds now. Over the crossover once more. Round through the middle of the circuit, about to run down the hill. It's just come up the steps. Under the driver's rostrum once more. 7 minutes 15 to go. It's looking very, very good for Mattia Polito to take the overall win. Set the fastest time in the 2 semis. No one's going to take that away from him. Even he set the fastest time. There'll be no question marks over that. There might be question marks over the other semi. Had some controversy there with regards to a few disqualifications for drivers for oversized fuel tanks. We're running with the 1 car at the moment of Mattia Polito, leading by 24 seconds now from Giuseppe Teschioni. 6.5 minutes left, just over 6.5 minutes. Looking very, very comfortable for Mattia Polito. He's coming past some traffic. That traffic getting called out of the way. I think that was the 11 car of Dario Gabrielli. Quite easy to spot him with his distinctive black wheels on his car. Through the centre section of the circuit again. He's come over the flyover. He's about to come up the steps. Bit of a mistake. That's okay. He can get away with that. He comes down the hill. His job now is just to drive around the middle of the circuit with a 25-second lead. He can just bring this one home. 6 minutes left. We're approaching the 40-minute mark now. He's coming out of the hot race turn, down into the hairpin with no name. Nice tight line there. He's driving around the middle of the circuit. He's got the 10 car of Maxime Noble behind him. Maxime a lap down, or in fact it'll be 2 laps down now. Maxime just exited the pits behind him. Up the steps one more time. Bit of a difficult question now. A bit of a dilemma for Mattia Polito. He's into the pits. He's into the pits for the final time, for his final stop. There we go. He's being refueled. That's a splash and dash. Such was his lead. He can take a nice relaxed approach to the mechanics, make sure there's absolutely no problems as he leaves the pits. He's fueled to the end now. We have got 5 minutes remaining. We're just coming up to the 40-minute mark. Now, So 40 minutes into the race, 5 minutes remaining. We've just seen a final, not really splash and dash, but a make sure you make it to the end stop for Mattia Polito. That's his 5th fuel stop of the run. Just comes down the hill from the steps, past race control, round underneath the driver's rostrum. Lead is 24.6 seconds over Giuseppe Teschioni, with Patrick Avenier Jr. running in 3rd place. Mattia Polito going to close down the 11 car of Dario Gabrielli again. So they come round up the steps one more time. Down from the top of the hill into this little hairpin at race control. Down the straight, and in fact, Dario Gabrielli got out of the way. He pitted, so that got him right out of the way. Lead currently showing at 16 seconds, but that's because Polito's done his last stop and Teschioni hasn't done his last stop. So once Teschioni has stopped, that should go back up to something in the region of 23, 24 seconds, I think. Just watching, 3.5 minutes left. 16.7 second lead for this car that we are running with, Mattia Polito. Less than 3.5 minutes from what he'll feel is his destiny. Sorry if it's getting a bit deep there. He just goes past some lap traffic. When I say lap traffic, that's actually the 6 car of Patrick Avenier Jr., who is the 3rd place man. So lapping the 3rd place man. Teschioni has obviously pitted because the lead back up to 24.7 seconds. So crushing display really from Mattia Polito. Had a challenge from Elliot Marson at the start, but it's more the consistency of Mattia Polito's pace. Other people have done faster laps than him, but he's just been absolutely relentless the whole race, the whole day long really. Set the fastest time of anybody in the 2 semi-finals. So it's been a great day's work really for Mattia Polito. Just heads under the driver's rostrum. We'll stick with him to the end now, unless there's any incidents, any mistakes. Surely he's going to take the win here from Giuseppe Teschioni. He's just had a little half spin. Little clip against the barrier. His heart would have been in his mouth. The 6 car's right with him. I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls out the way and lets the 6 car go. He doesn't want to be pushed around this circuit. The 6 car is a lap down on him. He'll just want to cruise. He knows that he's got less than 2 minutes to go now. He's just got to head round, keep his head for the last couple of minutes. He's either going to want to try and pull away. In fact, the 6 car's made a bit of a mistake behind him and dropping off. Out of the corner in the middle of the circuit that now has no name. Back into the infield. Car flying really nicely. Over the crossover for Mattia Polito. 43 minutes, 45 seconds gone. We're coming up towards the final minute of the race. Lead is 23.8 seconds. Mattia Polito is cruising. He just needs to get this to the end. He's already lapped pretty much most of the field. He's lapped the 3rd place car. He's not going to lap the 2nd place car, but he's 2/3 of a lap down the road from him. We have 45 seconds of this final remaining. I think we may see a bit of an anticlimaxial end. I think Mattia Polito is going to be the only driver to make it onto an extra lap. We'll see as they cross the line. 30 seconds left. Mattia Polito has made it onto what is going to be his final lap. So let's run with him. Giuseppe Teschioni will make that extra lap, I think, just, unless he has any issues. But Mattia Polito comes out of hot race for the last time. He's running it down into the middle section of the track. 10 seconds left on the master clock. Running around to the flyover now. A couple of corners from home. Makes the flyover nicely. That wide line into the berm. He's just about to come up the steps. The master clock's finished. Up the hill one last time. Up the steps, down the hill and across the line. Mattia Del Polito takes the win from Giuseppe Teschioni. So it's a fantastic win there for Mattia Del Polito Bello. Whoa.